So what is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and this is a rant on the Marvel's box office. And this wasn't a video I had planned. I actually do have some video ideas, but I had to talk about the Marvel's box office because it's pretty bad. The movie debuted to $47 million, which is the lowest MCU movie opening weekend ever for the franchise. It grossed $110 million worldwide. That is the lowest grossing worldwide debut for an MCU movie. For this is sorry, this did all again, the only superhero movies that the Marvel's opening weekend did better than is Shazam Fury of the Gods, ironically, and Blue Beetle. That's it. The Flash, which is considered the biggest flop in superhero movie history. Like, it doesn't matter what superhero movies have came out, The Flash is still considered the biggest failure for a comic book movie because of the budget. And I'm gonna pull up the Flash's budget because the Marvel's budget has been pretty well known. In fact, Disney was like they just let it happen. They were like, okay, like the report came out. If I was them, I'd be like, let's let everybody think that the Marvels was very low budget because that would save us a lot. Nah, Disney came in. They were like, yeah, we spent way more money on the Marvels. Actually, it's like, what? Why would you even admit that? Why would you admit the amount of money you poured into that movie? But okay. Anyways, The Flash cost $300 million. So the Marvels might not be as catastrophic as The Flash, but are we really gonna play that game like, well, The Flash costed more, so I mean the Marvels isn't as big of a bomb as The Flash. Is this the game we're playing now with this movie? I mean, I've seen people defend this movie, and I understand. I understand. You want to fight it against the trolls. You're excited for this movie. That's fine. You love this movie. That's great. If you don't like this movie for an actual valid reason, like it's actually about the movie itself, and it's not about who stars in it, and your hatred boner for Disney, then you're fine. I mean, again, I didn't care for this movie. For me, this is literally just a movie. It exists. The Marvels wasn't horrible to the point where I felt offended, but the Marvels wasn't so fun that I was like beaming because there are so many other. In fact, actually, everybody's explaining, oh my god, the Marvels movie is fun but messy. Even a lot of people admit, yeah, the Marvels movie is not good. This is not top tier MCU. So even the hardest defenders for this movie are saying, yeah, this is not top tier. This is better than some of the more recent stuff, but I mean, again, not top tier MCU. That's the hardcore defenders for this movie. So, what happened? Where did they all go wrong? And I think there are two massive factors, three actually. Although the two of them kind of are intertwined, and then the other one is a very it's a very hard truth that we might have to swallow. That we might just have to accept. So the first thing is that let's start off a little easy, right? The SAG-AFTRA strike. This is the first MCU movie where the actors could not promote it. Throughout the entire existence of the MCU, all the actors for the movies have been able to promote the movies. Even during the pandemic, the stars of Black Widow were still doing a press tour. I mean, at home, sure, but they were still doing a press tour. So it brought awareness to these movies, right? You have the actors promoting it. People that probably weren't aware that new Marvel movie was coming out. They're like, oh, the actors joined whatever. They're doing whatever. We didn't have Brie Larson, or really what would have been a fun one, Iman Vellani on Hot Ones. We didn't have Tiana Paris on the Jimmy Fallon show promoting it. We don't have Brie Larson doing, BuzzFeed stuff. We just didn't have the actors with the director promote the movie. And it felt awkward because you're just seeing these interviews with Nia DaCosta and you just feel bad because you're like, the actor should be there. And in some sick, cruel irony, the actor strike ends right before the Marvels hits theaters. And Marvel last minute was like, all right, we gotta get Brie Larson to do this, talk show. We gotta have Iman Vellani show up to this screening of the movie. We have to have Brie Larson appear in this screening of the movie in New York. And it was just like, you could tell last minute, all of last week, Marvel has been trying to do damage control for this movie. Because the marketing has been so bad. And that ties into the second point. The marketing, this is the worst marketing campaign for an MCU movie. Even worse than Eternals. At least with Eternals, they told you the plot of the movie. The Marvels doesn't even really tell you what the actual plot of the movie is. And it's not like how in the Avengers trailers, they don't really tell you the plot of the movies exactly. It's not like one of these high security. It's not like Spider-Man No Way Home, and even Spider-Man No Way Home kind of revealed what the plot was by the second trailer. But it's not like, they were trying to hide the plot because it's gonna be this big, massive secret. Because God knows, at the final week, they did not care. They didn't care. The marketing campaign for the Marvels is what I would call embarrassing. This was one of the worst, as I said, marketing campaigns for the MCU. And this is the same franchise that just earlier in this year, relied on Kang the Conqueror, a pretty well unknown character that hasn't been introduced yet. They were relying the entire marketing campaign on Kang the Conqueror for Ant-Man 3, only for Kang the Conqueror to, be a very small part of that movie. He was in the movie. I'll give them that. That's way better than the effort for the Marvels. To really analyze why the marketing for the Marvels is one of the worst marketing campaigns the MCU has done, we have to start back in February. Post Ant-Man 3's release, they drop a teaser poster for the Marvels in February, teasing, the movie's getting delayed to November, but hey, the Marvels, we're just getting the word out, which, fine, that's perfectly fine. Again, we go radio silent about the movie until May, where they drop a trailer to the Marvels. I think either to play in front of I think it was just to play in front of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The Marvels trailer becomes the most disliked trailer that the MCU has ever released on YouTube. The most disliked. Yes, a lot of that was very unwarranted, but at the same time, I'm not going to say this teaser trailer was amazing either. This teaser trailer was very meh. It didn't really present the movie that well. But hey, maybe the official trailer might do well. Nope, because Marvel decided, what would be a good idea? Let's drop the trailer to the Marvels at 12 a.m. during San Diego Comic-Con weekend, which, again, it's like, just debut the trailer Friday morning. Like, am I missing something? Well, actually, I think that was the same weekend as Barbie. But who cares, right? You're gonna play this trailer anyways in front of Barbie, so you might as well drop it early in the morning on Friday during Comic-Con. Who cares? It's a superhero movie. This is the time where you gotta promote your stuff. And I understood back then they just didn't have the actors to promote any of this. So what would be the point of them going out there and doing it? Kevin Feige, there's only so much talking Kevin Feige can do. Although, Kevin Feige doesn't do a terrible job. For a Comic-Con panel, I don't know. He announced all of Phase 3 in 20 minutes. And I think the Comic-Con panels will be a whole hour. So what would Kevin Feige talk about? The Marvels? I mean, clearly they didn't care about this movie. Instead, again, we go radio silence for this movie. There's no, literally, we're heading into September, and you're like, wow, Marvel has just not mentioned anything about this movie, huh? Then we get to October, the tickets go on sale. Lowest ticket sales for an MCU movie. One of the lowest ticket sales. And it's like, ooh, that's not great. So Marvel starts panicking. They start revealing some things. They show the Rainbow Bridge in one of their TV spots and say, ooh, is it Thor? It's Valkyrie. Everybody knows it's Valkyrie. Everybody knows you're kind of alluding to the ship between Captain Marvel and Valkyrie that fans did back in 2019. Who cares? Who cares? They were just selling this. And then the marketing campaign was just abysmal. And by marketing campaign, I mean their non existent marketing campaign. I mean, honestly, they promoted Loki far more than they did Captain Marvel. It was like Loki post, Loki post, Loki post, new Loki. I mean, and even then, they were barely promoting Loki when it was dropping. So imagine if they're barely promoting Loki, and I'm saying they're promoting Loki more than they are the Marvels, you would get the Marvels TV spot once in a blue moon. You know, Marvel's marketing used to be so good because people would complain about how many TV spots they would drop. The Marvels, it was rare to even get a TV spot. If you got a TV spot, I mean, you found a rare breed of things. And it was just this, Marvel had this attitude where they just did not care about this movie from the way they were marketing it. I mean, heck, even to small things, you know, like on their Instagram, they would pin, what are the big projects that are either coming up or are streaming on Disney Plus now or playing in theaters. They didn't pin nothing for the Marvels. They only pinned Loki stuff. They only pinned one Loki thing, and I was like, wow. I mean, they did not care for this movie. And then I guess they saw the box office projections and they were like, oh my god, we have to actually try. We cannot have this movie be the lowest opening weekend in the MCU. So then they drop the final trailer to the Marvels. And they drop it the week of release. The movie's already coming out. Most people are already seeing the movie. And you're like, all right, let's drop a final trailer. Why not drop the final trailer 1 month before the movie comes out? And then start your marketing campaign. Like you usually do. But for them, this was like a new concept. They were like, what? Marketing? How do you do that? And then the final trailer reeked of desperation. Like, good God. Showing Iron Man, Captain America, Thanos, having a line where Thanos is like, my work isn't done. You cut to the villain of this movie, who I don't even fucking remember her name. But you got to her, and then Captain Marvel's like, we destroyed Thanos and whatever. And you're like, oh my god, Thanos is kind of going to kind of connect to this movie. Are they finally going to follow up on something? No. Spoilers. Thanos, they don't even utter his name in this movie. So it doesn't matter. And then after that, they were like, you won't believe what happens next. And they were teasing the X for X-Men. And it's like, fucking duh. Of course. What? Like, it's not really a surprise because you're like, well, I don't want to get into spoilers for the Marvels. But I will say, I'm like, no fucking shit. They're trying to tease X-Men. I mean, who cares anyways? We're getting basically another X-Men movie next year with Deadpool 3. So, I mean, it's not like the X-Men are so far away. We're literally getting an X-Men movie next year. So, it's not like I have to see the Marvels to see the X-Men. If people waited this long to see the X-Men at this point, do you not think they are just going to wait like several more months until Deadpool 3 drops to finally get something with the X-Men from Marvel Studios finally? Do you think they were really gonna rush out to go see the Marvels when your next movie is Deadpool 3? Hello, where like did nobody tell them they were like, maybe we should not over tease the X-Men because we're already gonna have an X-Men movie next year. So it doesn't really matter. And then I saw the post-credit scene and it's not really a game-changing post-credit scene because we've already had a like it okay, I don't want to give it away. You know what? You know what? Uh I don't know. I'm not gonna give a spoiler because I can't tell what the time codes would be for spoilers. But let's just say it doesn't change anything in the MCU because we've already seen something like this before in a previous MCU movie where that idea was actually kind of novel. You're like, wow, oh, they're really going there? You see this, you're like, I mean, that keeps track with that previous movie you did, but in terms of the MCU, nothing changes. Nothing is really changing. I mean, there's like one tease to a team, the Young Avengers. It's publicly out there, but they haven't developed most of these characters. So now we dive into the movie, and it's like this just didn't make sense. Honestly, they would have done better if it was a Captain Marvel. Honestly, you have the Marvels and you have Secret Invasion. These two projects were so weak. And obviously, if the answer is you don't want to do an Avengers Secret Invasion movie, that's fine. But the clear answer is Captain Marvel Secret Invasion. If you don't want to do any of this in an Avengers movie, and you're like, I mean, I hate to say this, but who is the Avenger that would need the most help to sell their movie? Captain Marvel, in all honesty. So let's give her Secret Invasion. Let's do a really good story with Secret Invasion, with Captain Marvel has the lead, and then Nick Fury, and then you could still have Monica, you could still have Miss Marvel, and but audiences are mostly watching for the Skrulls, for the aliens. You're gonna continue that plot line for in the movies because like the way Secret Invasion ends and the way this movie is, it's like these don't connect. These projects don't connect. We're getting to DCEU level territory of projects that are in the same line. Like you have Skrulls in this movie, you have Skrulls in Secret Invasion, you have Nick Fury in this movie, you have all of these characters, and you kind of match it and you're like, unless the Marvels was supposed to come out before Secret Invasion, this makes no sense at all. Like you're just sitting there like, the Marvels should timeline order be before Secret Invasion. That would make the most sense. But if it takes place after Secret Invasion, then the disconnect is insane. I mean, the disconnect between Nick Fury and the Marvels and Secret Invasion was already pretty big. But now when you have those plot lines, you're like, what is going on? Right? They tease Valkyrie. Ooh, the Rainbow Bridge. You see it in the movie. You're like, okay, it's AC. I mean, Valkyrie's in the movie. That's not a spoiler because they put it in the trailer. So the thing they were already teasing in the TV ads, like, ooh, who's this character? They already spoiled in the actual trailer already. They even showed some parts of the post-credit scene in the movie. Not in the movie, in the trailer. And it's like, wow, Marvel really played the desperate card because I think they realized they were like, this movie is fucked. This movie is just fucked. And I've said this to friends. I've said this to people that I talk to on Instagram. I say, listen, Marvel's already restructuring. That's a good thing. If Marvel has finally learned they're going to do a quality control thing, that's good. I don't have a problem with that. But I think the Marvels is going to make them do a hard pause. That's what I said. I said the Marvels is going to be the project where they might have to take a break. And before the movie even opened, Marvel already kind of did that. They already had Deadpool. Well, I think they announced it around the time the movie was already kind of in theaters. They were like, Deadpool 3 is going to be the only movie that comes out in 2024. No Captain America. We already talked about this in the future of the MCU. We already went into detail why Captain America isn't coming out this year. We already know why Thunderbolts ain't coming out this year because they haven't even started filming the movie. They didn't even start filming Thunderbolts, and they're about to rewrite the movie again. So they're like, just move it to 2025. Blade's never coming out. So you have 2025 where Marvel's looking to kind of restart some of these movies like Captain America and Blade and Thunderbolts, and they're still going to release Fantastic Four in 2025. So let's pray that amalgamation of all those characters work decently. But that's not the point. The point is that Deadpool 3 is going to be the only MCU movie next year. And that's going to be the break they need theatrically. I'm not talking about Disney Plus. I'm saying theatrically. Movie-wise, they will need a break. And DC's doing this too. DC's only releasing one movie next year. Joker 2. That's it. That's after Aquaman 2 is just Joker 2 next year. That's the only movie. That's the only movie. So Marvel's already following in DC's footsteps in terms of, all right, we can still drop this movie because it's still gonna do good, but everything else needs to be reevaluated. And if I was Kevin Feige, especially after the Marvels, that movie having such a half-ass script, like the Marvels to me felt like a first draft. It felt like, oh, okay, we have remnants of an idea for what a Captain Marvel sequel could be, but let's kind of tweak some things, let's cut some things down, and then ultimately, let's rewrite the movie and make it better. In the case of the Marvels, that it felt like a first draft. And they're taking this hard break. They're taking this seriously. They're like, okay, Deadpool 3 will be the only movie we release next year. Let's rework Captain America because they said the test screenings were horrible for Captain America to the point where they were like, let's reshoot the movie for 6 months. That's pretty significant. 6 months of reshoots. Yikes. And then you have Thunderbolts that didn't even start filming. And then Blade, God knows if that movie's coming out, right? Like, the only movie that is normal out of that group is Fantastic Four, and they didn't even announce the cast for that movie. So, this is a little bit of a rework period. If I was Kevin Feige, I'd be like, ooh, let's work on these movies. Let's make them decent. Let's make these movies people will actually want to go see. And I think the Marvel's bombing at the box office, failing, being the worst opening for the MCU ever. Period. Like, no other movie did worse than this movie in its opening. And then, I mean, if it falls off huge for its second weekend, it's going to be pretty bad. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised either because there's so many movies coming out next week. Well, this week. You have Hunger Games, which took all its preview screens. You have Trolls, which is gonna take away most of the audience that this movie caters to. And then the week after, you have Napoleon, which takes the IMAX screens again. And you have Wish, which Friendly Fire from Disney is also going to take away most of the audience that the Marvels kind of appeals to. And then this kind of leads into the final thing, is that the superhero genre is oversaturated. It is there's too much coming out. To have the string of bombs that we've had this year, this has been unprecedented. People were saying, oh, doom and gloom in 2022. They're like, oh my God, superhero movies, they're not doing well. Oh my God, we might hit oversaturation. There might be superhero burnout. But you had the Batman. That was a hit. Doctor Strange made almost $1 billion. Thor, despite despite the hatred Thor got, it still made over $700 million. Black Panther 2 made less than the first one, but it still made $800 million. So you still had a decent amount of superhero movies that were still doing well. Sure, Black Adam bombed. Okay, but Black Adam is the outlier. DC's League of Super Pets, who was expecting that movie to really be a big box office draw? But as we head into this year, the only two successful movies have been Spider Man Across the Spider Verse and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's not good. Both of those are sequels. And by the way, for Marvel, that's even worse because James Gunn, who made Guardians 3, their only movie that was well received from critics, fans, and did well at the box office, James Gunn is going to go take over DC. And he's going to be your competitor. And he's going to release a Superman movie in 2025. So basically, the guy that gave you your most recent success has left your company, has left the studio to work for your competitor. That should be that should bug them. That should be like oh wow, that's not good. Ant-Man 3 didn't do good. The Marvels might be the second biggest, well, we'll see how it goes. But the fact that it did lower in its opening than The Flash, it has a similar budget, and The Flash is like the biggest superhero movie bomb of all time. Period. No other movie did worse. Even Catwoman did better than The Flash in terms of financials. That's not great company you want to be in. Let's look at this year. You have The Marvels, which will be another money loser for Disney. So not only just superhero movies, there's just been a problem at Disney with their movies. Because their only successful movies are, again, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then you had Elemental, which did not debut good at all. Elemental did horrible for its opening, but a lot more people went to go see it, and it picked up steam, and then a lot of people were like, hey, Elemental wasn't that bad, and a lot of people supported the movie. Little Mermaid, it underperformed, but, it didn't embarrass itself. Everything else from Disney has failed. Indiana Jones, most of their 20th century movies, you're having Wish. They better pray Wish does well, because Disney Animation hasn't been having a good time either. Like their last movie, whatever, Strange World, that didn't do well. Okay, so for Disney, they couldn't afford another flop, and now you have the Marvels join that list. Yikes, right? So Disney's been having their own problems, but superhero movies, as I said, been having their own problems. I mentioned Blue Beetle. That is the worst performing DC movie ever. Worst performing DCEU movie ever. Period. Nothing else would do worse than Blue Beetle, unless Aquaman debuts lower than 25 million. That's if Aquaman debuts lower than that, then maybe Aquaman will be in contention for lowest DC movie. I think Aquaman will do slightly better than that. I honestly, it's like the Marvels debut so bad that I was like, okay, maybe Aquaman will be in the wheelhouse of the Marvels. Like it will make a similar amount. That's not great. That's not a good thing. That's not for me to say, yeah, this movie just cratered. So the Marvels didn't do well. Blue Beetle didn't do well. The Flash, I just said, was one of the biggest bombs in superhero movies history. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, another movie that bombed. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that movie bombed also. That movie didn't just bomb. Like that movie more underperformed, but it wasn't a moneymaker. So, as I said, the superhero landscape is bleak for this year. And I am planning on making a 2024. I was going to do that anyways. I was wondering if I should have waited for Aquaman, but honestly, just the slate seems very definitive at this point. And I don't want to touch on it, but 2024 to me seems like an answer to 2023. It seems like a Marvel's like, wow. Like, only Guardians did well. Okay, we're only going to release Deadpool 3. We got to work all these other movies because we cannot have another year where Deadpool 3 might be the only successful movie. Again, another movie that does not have the Marvel people really, or we're going to hope, does not have Kevin Feige's team invade that movie and take over the creative process. Like that movie, they said they're not touching that movie. I'm going to hope so for the sake of Deadpool 3. But Captain America 4 having terrible test audience scores, whatever. The Blade and Thunderbolts not being able to get off the ground. Fantastic Four We're waiting like 5 years. We waited 5 years. Oh, we're gonna, well, no, not 5 years yet, but we've waited 3 years and we can't even get the damn cast of the movie, and it's gonna supposedly film in January of next year, and we can't even get the cast. I think for Marvel, they need to take a break. I think DC's taking Marvel, DC are taking their breaks, and I think Sony. I mean, Sony has been benched the whole year. I mean, in terms of live action spin off movies, they've been benched since Morbius, which was a horrible movie, by the way. But they've been benched for a while. So Sony, they're like, oh, we're gonna come on the come up. Sony didn't get the memo. Sony was like, oh, we're gonna go on the come up. We're gonna talk about that. I'm actually gonna make that a video right now. But yeah, overall, I think the Marvel's box office is horrible. But I think Disney needs to learn. I think they need to stop oversaturating the market with superhero movies. I think they need a better plan for the upcoming Marvel slate. Because yeah, it's cool you're gonna introduce X-Men or whatever and Fantastic Four, and you're doing the multiverse, and but you need to like take a break. You need to slow down. You need to say, okay, what are we gonna do? And you need to reevaluate from there. And I think the Marvels was just gonna be the culmination of all of these problems put into one movie. And it's unfortunate for Brie Larson. It's unfortunate for the people that worked on this movie, but that's just how it is. But anyways, guys, have you seen the Marvels yet, or are you gonna wait for it on Disney Plus? I've seen a lot of people say they're gonna wait for it on Disney Plus, which makes sense because this is very much a Disney Plus movie. Let me know how you guys feel, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which should be about the upcoming 2024 slate. Peace.